All right. Welcome. It is April 7th, is week 4 of the tapping support sessions, and my one of my favorite Vedic meditation teachers, Jeff Kober, I was fortunate enough to do a tapping session with him last week, and he has recommended these tapping sessions to his mailing list, I guess, of people who get his amazing Vedic meditation emails for the day. If you don't get those already, you don't have to be a Vedic meditator to get them, and they're incredible. So just Google Jeff Kober. I think it's jeff-kober.com. I'll put that in the notes for this recording. Sign up for his daily emails. They're amazing. And so it's really cool. I have some folks who are planning to show up from his group, and we have someone here, Nisan, who's going to tap. A couple things to remember about tapping. This does not substitute for mental health care. If you have major trauma and anything about this is traumatizing to you or triggering to you, which we're going to be talking about emotions related to COVID, but if anything does come up that's more serious, this does not replace mental health care. And this is more of an exercise and stress reduction rather than a full clinical session. Nizan, thank you for being here. I'm excited to work with you. Is there a specific issue that you would like to work on today? And what we really would talk about is an emotion that you're feeling about coronavirus. So these sessions are specifically on how to manage stress related to coronavirus, but that can be anything from fear and anxiety to I am losing my mind because I'm stuck at home with my kids and I don't know how to homeschool. So it can be very broad.
Sure. Anxiety over my elderly parents.
Okay. Tell me a little bit more.
They're both at high risk. I feel responsible for being the person who delivers groceries and medicines to them, and that makes me try to be ultra vigilant because I need to make sure that they are not exposed. And so I have a little bit of anxiety about the role that I take on and just their general health and safety in the midst of this in LA.
Okay. And I've heard LA is a spot that's like going through a lot of growth in a bad way with coronavirus. How's it been like for you there?
I am in West Hollywood, which I think has the most cases in LA County. Mm-hmm. So it's a little, and I think I have someone in my actual apartment building that is tested positive. So it's a little anxiety inducing to leave the house for any purpose, even just for like basic walks or to go and do the laundry, which is a shared facility.
Oh, right. Sure.
Yeah. It's a balance between trying to be ultra vigilant, but also not driving yourself crazy with all the measures you're trying to take.
Yeah, absolutely. And are you guys on shelter in place there? Like, is it full quarantine?
Oh yeah. It's been full quarantine for a while.
Okay, good. I know some places aren't, but I feel like mostly the like coasts, it's sort of a like, I don't know, resembles the political distribution of the country too, but also where the numbers have been. So cool. All right. So how strong is your anxiety? If you had to rate it from 0 to 10, 10 being the strongest.
I think I'd give it a 6, which is higher than I would have the other day. I thought I was fine, but I actually woke up like around 4:40 this morning after having a dream about like losing my dad in a park and he didn't know how to put his mask on properly, which is the weirdest dream ever, but obviously it's subconsciously there.
Of course. And where do you feel that anxiety in your body, if you're able to identify that?
My gut.
Okay. All right. So the way tapping works, I've been not doing the world's longest introduction on these videos, but basically we're going to be, and if you have not washed your hands recently, please wash your hands. We're going to be touching our faces. So for anyone tapping at home, please wash your hands before and after. It's weird. I like touch my face for a living now with tapping. And so there's no way like to avoid that, but luckily I don't really leave my house. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be tapping on different spots on our face and chest for the most part that are the same meridians used, some of the same meridians used in acupuncture and traditional Chinese medicine. that tapping sends calming to the stress center of our brain. And in what we're going to do is we're going to repeat this negative emotion that you're feeling. This is not a positive mental attitude. This isn't like a affirmation session. We're going to be actually like over and over again talking about the anxiety that you're feeling as we do the tapping, and that's what allows it to calm down the nervous system in the setting of experiencing these distressing emotions. So the tapping points are, I'm going to show you them real quick. I respect your right to not be on video, but I'll just show them to you. So you're going to tap along with me, it's call and response, and I'm going to be speaking as if I'm you. So I'll say, you know, I'm anxious about my parents, and you'll say, I'm anxious about my parents. If I say anything that does not resonate, that's not quite right, repeat back something that does resonate, or say that doesn't quite work, and we'll figure out what does work, because I'm obviously not inside your brain and I haven't met you before. So the first point, we're not actually tapping yet. I'm just showing you where they are. This is the karate chop point. So you're going to tap here. You can do either hand, either side, both. Like here, obviously you can only use one hand. But then the next one is top of the head, and you can do this, you can do this, you can do both, whatever you want. I tend to use my right hand. And then you go inner corner of the eyebrow. So like right where the inner eyebrow meets the nose, tap there. And then side of the eye, under the eye. And for people at home, start tapping with me too if you're watching this after the fact. Under the nose, chin. And then we're going to do the collarbone, which is if you go to this little notch right here in your collarbone and your sternal bone, you go down an inch and over an inch. So it's right here, these two spots. I like to tap with my fist, so I do this. I actually do it over here on this side, but you can also tap with your fingers if you want. And then the last one is bra line. If you're wearing a bra or would be wearing a bra, or even if not, that's where you're going to tap under the arm. I like to use my fist like this, but you can reach over, you can tap like that, however you want to do it. So those are the tapping points, and we're just going to kind of get started. And remember, I'll say something and you'll repeat back exactly what I'm saying, unless it's something that does not resonate with you. Does that sound good?
Sounds good.
All right. So we're going to start by saying these three similar statements as we tap on this karate chop point. And then we're going to say something like, I love and accept myself, something similar to that at the end of each statement. Sometimes that feels very foreign to people. It might feel weird. It might feel awesome. It might make you emotional. Anything you experience in this time is totally fine. And if you find yourself having some like tears, emotions, just in general, as we tap, that's a sign that emotions are passing through you, energy is passing. And don't try to stifle the tears. It's like beautiful. And it's exactly, if you don't have tears, it's still going to work, but it's a sign. It's one of many signs that it's doing its job. So, all right, so we'll start. Even though I am having anxiety about my parents' health.
Even though I'm having anxiety about my parents' health.
I love and accept myself.
I love and accept myself.
Even though I am feeling really anxious about my elderly parents.
Even though I'm feeling really anxious about my elderly parents.
And I feel that in my gut.
And I feel that in my gut.
I accept and forgive myself exactly as I am in this moment.
I accept and forgive myself exactly as I am in this moment.
Even though I'm feeling very anxious about my parents' health.
Even though I'm feeling very anxious about my parents' health.
And I'm their only portal to the world right now.
And I'm their only portal to the world right now.
I love and accept myself completely.
I love and accept myself completely.
All right, top of the head. I'm anxious.
I'm anxious.
And I can't see you, so just move along. Make sure you have your eyes open and you're moving along with me to me. And I can't like your position, but I'm just going to trust that you can do it. All this anxiety.
Do you mind repeating that one?
All this anxiety.
All this anxiety.
I'm anxious about my elderly parents' health.
I'm anxious about my elderly parents' health.
I'm afraid they're going to get sick.
I'm afraid they're going to get sick.
And I feel responsible for their health because I'm the only person they have any contact with.
And I feel responsible for their health because I'm the only person they have contact with.
I have anxiety about exposing them.
I have anxiety about exposing them.
I'm even having some nightmares about my parents' health.
I'm even having some nightmares about my parents' health.
So this anxiety is stronger than I realized.
So this anxiety is stronger than I realized.
And I'm worried about my parents.
I'm worried about my parents.
They're pretty defenseless right now.
They're pretty defenseless right now.
And they're high risk.
And they're high risk.
And I'm afraid they're going to get sick.
And I'm afraid they're going to get sick.
And I'm afraid that if they do get sick, it will be because of me.
And I'm afraid that if they do get sick, it'll be because of me.
And I'm just really anxious about that.
And I'm just really anxious about that.
All this anxiety.
All this anxiety.
So much anxiety.
So much anxiety.
I feel responsible for them.
I feel responsible for them.
I'm bringing in their groceries and prescriptions.
I'm bringing in their groceries and prescriptions.
And what if I track something in?
And what if I track something in?
There's someone in my building who has coronavirus.
There's someone in my building who has coronavirus.
And we share a lot of spaces in my building.
And we share a lot of spaces in my building.
I don't have the luxury of completely isolating.
I don't have the luxury of completely isolating.
And I'm anxious that I'm going to put my parents at risk.
And I'm anxious that I'm going to put my parents at risk.
All this anxiety.
All this anxiety.
All right, so let's pause. We're going to take a deep breath in. So what came up for you while we were tapping?
I felt sadness when we had the messaging around being their only portal to the outside world, because it not only emphasized or reinforced my level of responsibility, but it also just made me feel bad for them and all the elderly people that are just stuck and alone and just can't do anything right now.
Yeah. And how strong is that sadness, would you say?
It's a 7. I feel a lot of empathy for a lot of different groups during this period and what they must be experiencing.
Tell me more about that.
I feel a lot of empathy for people who do not have the luxury to stay at home and must be working, and they're trying to do their part, but other people might not be as cautious. And I probably should stop watching the news, but that video of that bus driver who was complaining about someone coughing on his bus really loudly, and then he ended up dying several days later. It's just, I feel that there are groups that don't have the same luxuries as others, and disparities are really being highlighted.
Yeah.
And for me, that becomes the most obvious in how the elderly are, because that's what's closest to my life, which makes me fortunate that that's the only real touch point, but all of it is heartbreaking.
Yeah, absolutely. It's such a big issue, and it's something that I'm very passionate and outspoken about in general, like pre-coronavirus, and I've been not seeing that much out there. I just actually shared a video on an article on Facebook of the New York Times about like the privilege of staying at home, and please stop judging people who don't have that privilege. But it's like people are so wrapped up, including me, so wrapped up in our struggles right now that it's like hard to remember that there's another world out there that, it's not like blame, but it's still like hard for people to wrap their brains around. But I think a lot of people have been thinking about it. How is the anxiety right now? How strong is that?
It's strong, but it's a little tempered by like sadness.
Yeah. So what happens often is when we start tapping, other emotions will come up. So there's sort of like peeling back the layers of an onion to see what's underneath. If you could give the anxiety a number right now, how strong would that be?
I'd say it's probably like a 6.5. So it's a little higher than when we started.
Interesting. Okay. All right. And did anything else come up for you? Any aha moments or insights or memories or visions or images or anything?
No, just sadness and fear. I think that there's more fear now than there might have been before. Because I guess this is something that comes up. Because I think the idea of like actual death like crossed my mind, as opposed to just the idea of exposure, which is a little just stops shy of thinking of the consequences of exposure.
Okay. Okay. So more fear and then sadness. What would you say is the strongest of the emotions you're feeling right now? Or are they kind of equal?
Um, Maybe sadness is the most.
Okay. Let's shift to that, and then we'll check in on the other emotions as we go through. How strong is that fear right now, would you say?
The fear,
Hmm.
fear is about a 4, and I think that's why the anxiety got bumped up a little, because the
Okay.
fear wasn't fully there yet.
Okay. Okay. So, all right. So we'll making note of that, and then we'll come back. So let's talk about the sadness. Even though I am sad
E-
for um, people who are isolated from the world right now,
Even though I'm sad for people who are isolated from the world right now,
and they don't have the and for people who don't have the luxury to stay home,
and for people who don't have the luxury to stay home,
I love and accept myself.
I love and accept myself.
Even though I feel this really deep sadness and empathy
Even though I feel this really deep sadness and empathy
for all these people who are, in particular, elderly people who are stuck home alone,
for all these people, and particularly elderly people who are stuck home alone,
I accept and forgive myself exactly as I am in this moment.
I accept and forgive myself exactly as I am in this moment.
I feel this really strong sadness right now.
I feel this really strong sadness right now.
And even though I feel that sadness,
And even though I feel that sadness,
I love and accept myself completely.
I love and accept myself completely.
I'm sad.
I'm sad.
All this sadness.
All the sadness.
I feel sad for all the elderly people who are stuck home alone.
I feel sad for all the elderly people who are stuck home alone.
And I feel sad for all the people who are already marginalized in our society.
And I feel sad for all the people who are already marginalized in our society.
And how much more difficult this is on them.
And how much more difficult this is on them.
They don't have the luxury to stay home,
They don't have the luxury to stay home.
and home may not be safe for them.
And home might not be safe for them.
And it makes me sad how all these disparities are really being highlighted right now.
And it makes me sad how all these disparities are really being highlighted right now.
All this sadness.
All this sadness.
I'm sad for all the people who are really suffering during this time.
I'm sad for all the people who are really suffering during this time.
I'm sad that there's such a um, there's so many different experiences of this pandemic in people in our country.
I'm sad that there are so many different experiences of this pandemic in our country and globally.
Globally, yeah. And I'm sad that there's so much inequality.
And I'm sad that there's so much inequality.
All this sadness.
All this sadness.
I'm sad for those people who don't have contact to the outside world.
I'm sad for those people who don't have contact to the outside world.
And I'm sad for those people who are not able to isolate and shelter in place.
And I'm sad for those people who aren't able to isolate and shelter in place.
All this sadness.
All this sadness.
I feel so sad.
I feel so sad.
I feel a lot of sadness and empathy for people who are alone,
I feel a lot of sadness and empathy for people who are alone,
and for the people without the resources to be comfortable during this time.
and for the people without the resources to be comfortable at this time.
I feel sad.
I feel sad.
All the sadness.
All this sadness.
As hard as this is for me, I know it's much harder for other people.
As hard as this is for me, I know it's much harder for other people.
And that makes me really sad.
And that makes me really sad.
All the sadness.
All the sadness.
Okay, let's pause. Take a deep breath. So what came up for you while we were tapping?
The sadness got replaced by fear. Fear that all of this is happening and it's an opportunity for change, and that we might not do that in this country or globally. I feel like character's really coming out during this time, and some of it has been ugly. And we have this unprecedented situation, which is tragic, but provides the opportunity for change. And I'm scared that that won't happen.
Yeah, like who's going to be shepherding that in? Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. How strong is the fear?
Um, a 7.
Okay,
I mean, it's a little bit fear / like despair.
okay. And is the fear of death still in there for you?
Not as much.
Okay, how strong is that?
Like a 3.
Okay. And how about the anxiety?
Probably like a 3.
Okay. All right. What number would you say the sadness is right now?
5.
Okay.
Like I'm still sad, but it's more looking forward with like hope, but that hope gets kind of crushed by this fear or despair that nothing will change.
Okay. All right. So let's tap on the fear and despair. Even though I feel fear and despair that we might miss a great opportunity,
Even though I feel fear and despair that we might miss a great opportunity,
I love and accept myself.
I love and accept myself.
Even though I feel despair that things are changing and they could actually change for the worse.
Even though I feel despair that things are changing and they could actually change for the worse or even stay the same,
Or yeah, I accept and forgive myself exactly as I am in this moment.
I accept and forgive myself exactly as I am in this moment.
Even though I feel despair and fear that the ugliness of our society is going to prevent a possibility for change,
Even though I feel fear and despair that the ugliness of our society is going to prevent an opportunity for change,
I love and accept myself completely.
I love and accept myself completely.
I have this despair,
I have this despair,
and I also feel afraid.
and I also feel afraid.
Major, major shifts are happening in our society,
Major shifts are happening in our society,
and there's so much potential for good to come out of this
and
horrible
there's
situation.
potential for good to come out of this.
But I have this despair that the wrong people are making those decisions.
But I have this despair that the wrong people are making those decisions,
And I'm afraid that nothing's going to change or it's going to get worse.
and I'm afraid that nothing's going to change or it's going to get worse.
I'm looking forward with some level of hope,
I'm looking forward with some level of hope,
but that hope is met with despair that the people in control right now are going to just botch it.
but that hope is met with despair that the people in control may botch it.
I'm seeing a lot of ugliness come out in our society.
I'm seeing a lot of ugliness come out in our society
That's even more pronounced than usual.
that's even more pronounced than usual.
And I'm afraid that that ugliness is going to hold us back from making the changes that are possible.
And I'm afraid that ugliness is going to hold us back from making the changes that are possible and necessary.
And that just feels devastating to me.
That just feels devastating to me.
I feel despair and fear.
I feel despair and fear.
What if nothing changes for the better?
What if nothing changes for the better?
What's going to happen to our society if we aren't able to make the important changes that we need?
You cut out a little bit on that one.
Oh, what's going to happen to our society if we don't make the important changes that we need?
What's going to happen to our society if we don't make the important changes that we need?
I feel so powerless.
I feel so powerless.
And that's just all adding to my despair and fear.
And that's just all adding to my despair and fear.
I look forward to the future and it looks really bleak.
I look forward to the future and it looks really bleak.
It could be filled with hope,
It could be filled with hope.
but I have this sense of despair and fear that our leaders are going to mess it up.
I have this sense of despair and fear that our leaders are going to mess it up.
And that feels very overwhelming and despairing.
And that feels very overwhelming and despairing.
Despairing a word?
It is right now.
Okay. I'm like, I don't know if that's real. I was like, how do I turn despair into an adjective? Just did the best I could. All right. All this fear and despair.
All this fear and despair.
I have so much fear and despair.
I have so much fear and despair.
There's such an opportunity for change, and I don't know how it's going to go.
There's such an opportunity for change, and I don't know how it's going to go.
Okay. Let's pause. Take a deep breath. So what came up for you?
Two different things. One was this feeling that what I'm dealing with is like a lack of control and how that's impacting me. And that actually made me go back to my last relationship, which ended abruptly and with like no real answers and felt like another moment of complete lack of control. So it made me feel like that is probably an issue I'm dealing with, not being able to have control right now.
Okay.
And then the other thing that it brought up, which is I guess complementary to that, is just have some trust in the universe.
Mm-hmm. Which is like out here easy, in here really hard. You know? But it's a great insight to have. And that's one of the things I love about tapping is that as we're going through it and we're peeling back the layers of the stress and we're allowing our brain this like the space to like process in a healthy way, your subconscious will send you these beautiful messages such as have some trust in the universe and also help you make some connections of other things that need to be worked on, such as issues about your last relationship. So how strong is the fear and despair?
2.
Okay. And how about the sadness?
Sadness is about a 4, and I think that that's because like the relationship stuff came up.
Okay. And the fear of death, how strong is that?
A 2.
And the anxiety about your parents?
A 1, recognizing that actually, while it was our initial issue, comes back to this idea that I want control over a situation, and there's only so much control any of us can have.
Yeah. All right. Did any new emotions come up for you?
Not really. Like the sadness, I guess, like a little bit of nostalgia sadness because it's a relationship, but it's still like a little bit of surrender to the fact that like I just can't control everything or have all the answers.
Yeah.
And like I said, a little bit of faith, not like positive hope faith, but just like, you know, that there's something bigger than you and just have faith or trust that it'll work out.
Yeah. Trying to control the world from here.
Yeah.
From the home, and like make it all change inside your brain is exhausting. And I think that's how a lot of us feel, why so many people are feeling so tired and exhausted and without any bandwidth to think about anything else. All right, so now I think we're at a point where we can start tapping in the positive. You've done a really incredible job. And as you can see, like we address the systemic, you know, the sequential emotions that come up, and then they all kind of quiet down because we're just peeling back the layers. So we're going to do, and if we tapped in positive when you were still at a like 7 out of 10 anxiety or, you know, any other strong emotion, your brain's just going to reject it. So so that's why we want to tap through and get down to like a 3 or less for most of these, and then we can start tapping in positive. So I still feel some sadness.
I still feel some sadness.
All this lack of control is bringing up some stuff from my past.
All this lack of control is bringing up some stuff from my past.
What did an
That's just an understatement, probably.
Oh, okay. And I realized that a lot that's underlying this is the lack of control.
And I realized that a lot of what's underlying this is the lack of control.
And my small self is trying to control everything right now.
And my small self is trying to control everything right now.
But my big self knows that there's only so much that one human being can control.
And my big self knows that there's only so much that one human being can control.
My big self knows that something is at play right now in the universe.
My big self knows that something is at play right now in the universe.
And it's not up to me to know how it ends.
And it's not up to me to know how it ends.
It is up to me to surrender.
It is up to me to surrender.
And it is up to me to remember that I can't control everything.
It is up to me to remember that I can't control everything.
And it's actually more fun when I stop trying to control everything.
It's actually more fun when I stop trying to control everything.
Because then the universe brings unexpected things that I was too busy trying to control to see.
Because then the universe brings unexpected things that I was too busy trying to control to see.
Yeah. If I'm too distracted and trying to control things that are beyond my control.
If I'm too distracted and trying to control things that are beyond my control,
I'm going to miss out on beauty and connection.
I'm going to miss out on beauty and connection.
I'm going to miss out on moments of inspiration.
And when I miss out on moments of inspiration.
And right now my energy is precious.
And right now my energy is precious.
And I'm choosing to surrender to what is happening right now.
And I'm choosing to surrender to what is happening right now.
Even if I have to do that again and again.
Even if I have to do that again and again.
That's a choice that I can consciously make.
That's a choice that I can consciously make.
And that is something that I do have control over.
And that is something that I do have control over.
And I can see all of these emotions as a gift.
And I can see all of these emotions as a gift.
To help me heal old wounds that might need some attention.
To help me heal old wounds that might need some attention.
To help me let go of some things that might not be relevant anymore.
To help me let go of some things that might not be relevant anymore.
And to remember that we are literally all doing the best we can right now.
And to remember that we are all literally doing the best that we can right now.
We are united in our struggles right now.
We are united in our struggles right now.
And those struggles might look very different for different people.
Those struggles might look very different for different people.
But there's a shared humanity in all of this that's beautiful.
But there's a shared humanity in all of this that's beautiful.
And I'm going to focus my attention on positive things coming out of this.
And I'm going to focus my attention on positive things coming out of this.
I'm not going to ignore or shove away my negative emotions when they come up.
I'm not going to ignore or shove away my negative emotions when they come up.
But I can choose to surrender to those emotions and not let them control me.
I can choose to surrender to those emotions and not let them control me.
And I can choose to have faith that there's a bigger plan.
And I can choose to have faith that there's a bigger plan.
I feel all this fear and sadness leaving my body.
I missed what you said for that.
I feel all this fear and sadness leaving my body.
I feel all this fear and sadness leaving my body.
I can let go of all this fear and sadness and despair.
I can let go of all this fear and sadness and despair.
All right, let's pause. Take a deep breath. So what came up for you?
Happiness.
I like that.
Recognition that a lot of what I was feeling is from just like old wounds and things that aren't relevant. And that while I'm scared that larger society might not take advantage of this moment, I need to make sure that I'm taking advantage of all the moments and all the grief that I've had in a positive way for change, and trusting that there's a bigger picture at play.
That's beautiful. I love it. I wish I could like bottle up. Maybe I could go through and edit all the videos and just like splice together everyone's positive moments that they've learned from these sessions, because I get so inspired by all of them. That's great. You can't control what anyone else is doing, but you can control what you're doing, and letting all of that affect your being an agent for change, even if that's on a micro level. Then they just win, you know?
Thank you, by the way. I had no idea what I was tuning in.
I know. Well, I'm so glad. I'm so glad you joined. It's really cool to see, and the effects of tapping can be very long lasting / permanent if we were able to get to the root of all the things. So I don't think that you're never going to feel anxiety again about this pandemic or fear or whatever. But it's not just the same way the meditation isn't just a Band-Aid, that the practice that I teach and that you do. You're actually shifting the way that your brain is processing these stressors. So if other sadness comes up, if other anxiety comes up, it's likely to come up in a different way about something adjacent, but not exactly the same. And so you can tap on that as well, or you can always come back. I mean, you can come to this every day if you want to. So, if we have more than one person, I tap with different people, but this is a really great way to process those emotions. Because a lot of people are like, oh, I shouldn't feel this. I shouldn't feel this. And we're all feeling stuff. And some people are feeling, like other emotions like guilt or resentment or all these things, but they're human and this is what's happening. So if we don't have a way to process them, they're just going to come back and bite us. So it's really beautiful to hear all your insights. And thanks for joining. Do you have any questions for me?
No, thank you. That was awesome. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. You're welcome. It was lovely meeting with you, and have a wonderful rest of your week.
Thank you, you too. And the next time I join, I'll wear a bra and brush my hair so I can be on video.
That's awesome. I look forward to it. All right. Have a good one.
Thank you. You too.